Sorry, my dog's just decided he wants to walk past and have a look out the window. You see him? Good. Alright, I'm Craig and this is Diary of an Angry Scottish Golfer. This is a YouTube video series that I do where I track everything I'm doing to try and get better at golf. Quite a while since the last episode that we did, both of us, you and I. A lot of people ask me if I stopped doing them. I haven't stopped doing them, I've just decided to film them in a oneer and put them out as a series. I'll either release them each week, or if there's a demand for it, I'll just put them out like Ozark. I'll just put them all up on YouTube at once and you can just binge them if you're so inclined to do that. So this is what I see as season 3. So we've been doing this for quite a while now. Basically, to start season 3, the best thing to do would be to do a brand new what's in the bag, because I've pretty much replaced everything that's currently in the bag, and it would be a good idea to just walk you through the new equipment and different things I've got in the bag. So I guess we'll just start at the top of the bag then with the big dog. So this is the big dog. Say hello. Bit of comedy there for you. That was really fucking heavy. Right, okay, at the top of the bag with the driver. So I replaced the driver. All my clubs, I'll say, have been custom fitted at a place in Edinburgh where I live called Scott Gourley Golf Technology, SGGT. This isn't an endorsement video. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but they're decent. So the driver, the Titleist, I couldn't fucking remember the name of it. I'm so bad for equipment. The driver is the Titleist TSI 3. Now I realise I pretty much had this for maybe like 3 months or 2 months at this point, and they've just released the brand new Titleist drivers. That's the way of it, right? I like Titleist because they typically don't release an iteration as much as other manufacturers, like TaylorMade obviously. I've always said that if you have a TaylorMade driver, by the time you get home and take the wrapper off, they've released a new one. So although this is now an old model, I like it. So I'm not too arsed that they just released a new one. Shaft is the same shaft that I had in my old driver. Fujikura Motor Speeder VC 6.2 X-Flex. If that means anything to you, like I say, I'm the least knowledgeable guy when it comes to equipment. I literally just go with what the recommendations are. A noticeable change for me is I used to have a 9.5 degree driver and it's changed now, so this is an 8 degree. So it goes quite a lot lower in the wind and stuff. It's really good because you don't feel like you have to do as much to the shot. Like you don't really need to try and flight it. With an 8 degree driver, you kind of just think, hit it normally, and it goes pretty low anyway. I'm very anal. When it comes to grips, I like all my grips to be on backwards. Too many grips put on squint over the years. I've been hurt too many times that it just pisses me off. And then obviously I've got a version of my dog as the head cover. Woof. So moving swiftly on, I now have a 3-wood. I'd never played with a 3-wood before. Previously, if you watch the old What's in the Bag, it was driver than a 2-iron. So I've got a TaylorMade M4 3-wood that I bought off my mate just because I actually needed a 3-wood, or I felt like I wanted to try and learn how to hit a 3-wood. And it turns out it's pretty decent. I'm not too sure about the head. The head's okay. It's like pretty well used from my mate Ross, who's been on the channel before. So it's his old one. It's quite marked up. The reason I keep it though is the shaft is really good, and it's one of the ones before you could just change out and swap the head. So I can't change it. But the shaft is a Project X PX Tour 52 7.0 shaft. Not that common to get a 7.0. I'm pretty sure the higher the number, the stiffer the shaft. So it's pretty decent. I quite like it. It's, yeah, standard 15 degrees. I've learned how to hit a 3-wood now, which is nice. I used to pretty much just power top it. And having a 3-wood is good. That rhymes. Decent. So this is still in the bag, Old Faithful. I'll never, as long as I live, replace this club. Absolutely love this to bits. It's the Titleist 712U, old version. This version is quite thin. It doesn't have like the big chunky bit at the back, as it were. A lot of the newer ones, they tend to have quite a fat ass, although that's appealing in some aspects of life, not in a golf club. I was apprehensive somewhat about getting fit for irons because I wasn't swinging it particularly great. And what they said to me was that basically when you're getting an iron fitting, but basically what you're looking for is consistency with ball speed. And what I have found with my old irons, my Mizuno MP4s, the blades, which I absolutely love to bits, still think they're one of the most stunning golf sets you can have. What I found is that off-center hits, the ball speed was dropping so dramatically that it was causing significant differences in distance. The 6-iron on my old set I absolutely buttoned one. Couldn't hit it any better, and it flew 189 yards. Second shot hit after that, so the shot hit immediately after that. I think he said I hit 7mm left of where I'd hit the first one, which I guess granted is fairly, but it's quite a big area. I don't know, I'm not a joiner, but 7mm is probably quite a bit, right? It's like an average cock length. Isn't it? Isn't it? So I hit the second one 7mm towards the heel or the toe or some shit, and the second one flew 175 yards. Almost, I mean, it's impossible to play golf like that because you laser something and you're like, right, it's 180 away, cool, I'll hit, what will I hit? I mean, it depends where I need to absolutely middle this to get it anywhere near, or to know how far it goes, and that's just too hard. I'm not good enough for that. I played in a shitload of events this year with guys who are elite amateurs, and I was the only guy with blade, and everybody else in the field's better than me, and I'm thinking, why am I making the game much harder for myself just to look cool? It's just stupid. I tried a bunch. I actually went there and I wanted to get the new Titleist T100s, but for some reason, and Scott had mentioned this, he said it was really common for guys who previously have played Mizuno to literally not be able to hit Titleist clubs. And I mean, I hit them okay, but the difference in ball speed and the difference in everything with what I eventually got versus the T100s was like night and day. So my brand new irons are the Callaway Apex TCB, which stands for Tour Cavity Back, and I got them with the Project X 6.5 rifle shafts. The difference in ball speed with these on an off-center hit was 3 yards, so dispersion-wise. Like, as I say, the previous ones, when I middled one, it went 100, when I middled the 6-iron, it went 189, when I hit it off-center, it went 175. That's like 14 yards. The difference in these with a good one and a bad one was 3 yards. If you can't play golf, play Callaway. I got those in 5 to pitching wedge, and I got a 4-iron of the Callaway Apex Pro, which looks like a blade, but it's a hollow head, so it's like super forgiving. It's a piece of piss to hit. When I was hitting them at the fitting, they were going pretty much 230, and the dispersion on them was super tight, and it was honestly like effortless. I always said that comboing a set was kind of like shagging a prosy. It's just like admitting defeat. When you get fitted, they constantly are tweaking things. And Scott was taking the iron off me, asking me questions, just chatting in general, and giving me it back. And I thought I had the 4-iron of the normal set. I was hitting this thing and I was absolutely rifling it. And Scott said, yeah, so I think these are irons for you. 5 to pitching wedge in the TCBs, and we'll get the Apex Pro 4-iron. And I said, no. I'm not comboing my irons. Absolutely not. I'm absolutely rifling this. This is perfect. So just keep the normal one. And he said, yeah, the reason you're rifling it is because I've already changed it and you've not even noticed. So yeah, these are my irons. So I've had them a couple of months, and yeah, they're so much easier to hit. Like, you just squaff some stuff and you just get results out of it. Ultimately, that's what golf's all about, isn't it? I've come to realise that if I hit 71 pretty shot, if someone else hits 68 sort of dunt and runs, they win, right? So it's the name of the game, and these are definitely making it a lot easier. Wedges, I changed to get the Cleveland RTX zip cores in a 52 and a 58 degree. I used to have 52, 56, 60. Then for a while I had 52, 56 because I never really hit a 60 because I always felt a bit awkward with it. Argument would be if you've got a 2-wedge setup versus a 3-wedge setup, it makes you a bit more creative. You have to be. You don't have the option of more loft or less loft or whatever. So I changed, got these, bought them from a pro shop. I'm saying this because this is relevant to the story. And I know how far I hit all my clubs, and I would hit typically my 52 degree wedge about 115 yards. I don't hit my wedges very far because of an issue in my swing where I add quite a lot of loft, don't compress it very much, but I'm working on that, so hopefully that'll improve. But I hit my 52 degree, my old 52, 115 yards. I got this 52 degree, and I could not, for love nor money, get it to go further than 100 yards. Ended up putting me off having a 2-wedge setup. I felt like I just constantly had lots of awkward distances. So in my bag currently, if you were to look at it, I've got 2 52 degrees in my bag. I've got my old Titleist SM7, like proper old. But I thought, you know what I'm going to do? My 52, I'm going to get it bent to be a 54, and then I'll get my old 52 bent to be a 50. So I've got a 50, 54, 58. When I went to get it checked or bent, the guy in the pro shop looked at the 52 that I'd had probably 3 weeks at this point, and it's brand new. Like, I took it out of the wrapper, and he said, yeah, that 52 is already a 54, which makes perfect sense as to why I can't hit it very far, or I wasn't hitting it very far. Moral of the story, get your lofts and lies checked quite frequently because, I mean, I literally bought that brand new. Within a couple of weeks, it had either moved or it was always a 54. Also, in regards to the 3 wedge setup versus a 2 wedge setup, it's a point of contention, right? But for me, people who hit the ball less than 270 yards off the tee would benefit more from a 2 wedge setup. People who hit the ball further than 270 would benefit more from a 3 wedge setup. Is that us done? No, putter. So previously I had a Scotty Cameron Newport 2.5 that I've now changed. Odyssey 2 ball, old school Odyssey 2 ball, bought it off eBay when I was out my tits on pain medication when I snapped my hamstring. I just was watching the Ryder Cup and I remember Shane Lowry boxed a putt with one of these and I thought, I'll have a bit of that. Different pockets. So I'm going to talk about rangefinders first of all. I'm thinking about upgrading this and I'd love to hear opinions on people who've got new versions of these. I've got the old school Bushnell Tour V2, pretty much one of the first iteration, well not the first because it's a V2, second iteration of you know what's funny, right, with doing these YouTube videos? You don't say a word your entire life and then you say it twice in half an hour. Iteration. Who says iteration? But it makes sense in the context. So this is like the second version of these, but I had a go of one of my mates, which is the new one that has slope. And I feel like that would be quite cool to do in practice rounds, obviously. Don't cheat. I thought it'd be quite cool to have because it'd be quite good to check on par 3s and things, or shots that you typically have, what the actual difference in distance are. So if you've got one of those, fancy telling me about it, I'd appreciate that. I also, this year, added to my bag the Bushnell Phantom 2. It's basically just like a little Tamagotchi that tells you, if you know what a Tamagotchi is, then you're at least ages with me. Feed it, water it, keep it alive. It's basically just a little Tamagotchi that tells you front distances to the front, to the middle, to the back, just like an old school GPS. Pretty handy, really good. Would definitely recommend getting one of those, especially if you're playing at different courses where maybe you'll have blind shots, and also for quickness sometimes. If I've got anything over like 250, I'll a lot of the time just look at what the distance is to the middle of the green and think, right, perfect, I'll try and hit that. If you want more information on that, I did a really good video on, on shot dispersion that would make a bit more sense about that. What else do I have in the bag anyway? So random shit that I have in my bag. I have a tape measure for putting to set out distances to practice to, and when I'm hitting wedges, so I'll set out like a 15-foot zone of cones, and then I'll hit into that from different distances inside like 100 yards, because if you hit every shot from inside 100 yards into inside 15 feet, you'd pretty much be like the best wedge player on tour. That's why that's in the bag. It's for practice. I also have another practice aid, so a string line, pretty standard. Bit of kit, put it in the ground, hit putts, and just basically check that I am not starting the ball either high or low of my intended start line for like a breaking putt. You know what? If you're committed to this point, you like golf as much as I like golf. So that shit, you're probably just like, oh yeah, string line. I'm a geek. My dog's looking at me this judgingly. Anyway, carry on. I also have like a big rubber band that I use to warm up, like stretches and that, because getting old. Golf is a bit like sex. You've got to preheat the oven, as it were. Golf is a bit like sex in the sense that you don't have to be good at either to enjoy it. It's fun either way. Moving on. When I was growing up, I always thought it was really cool how people would mark their golf ball a certain way and they would do it that way every single time, and then that was unique to them. And I always wanted to be a really good golfer, so I would try and do things that really good golfers done, which ended up being like I would Google how the top players in the world mark their golf ball, and I would try and mark it the same way. But I never really had like one that was unique to me until recently. Now I've got one that's like super unique to me, and I'm going to share it with you because it's so cute. Oh. So my golf balls now are marked with my dog's name, girlfriend's name, and a little paw print. Probably won't mean anything to you unless you're from Greece. My girlfriend marks my balls for me. She's Greek, so she writes it in Greek. So that's her name, my dog's name, and a paw print in Greek. So my golf balls are all marked a very unique way now, and it's cute, right? It goes back to the thing I was saying earlier about, I don't know, just be yourself. Do shit your own way. Don't mark your golf balls with my girlfriend's name. That would be weird. A coin from a golf club, with a coin from Western Gales Golf Club, which is the course that held the Scottish Amateur Championship 2022 that I played in. Probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest golf course I have ever played in my life. The reason I showed you what that is because there's a bit of a story behind it as well. When I played the Scottish Amateur, I thought, oh, I want something to remember playing in this, because it's like quite a big deal playing in those types of events, and for me it is anyway, I enjoy it. Bought the little coin that you've seen, and I bought a leather scorecard marker that I would love to show you, but I fucking lost it. And the point I'm telling you the story is I got the scorecard marker and I got that and I put it down on the counter, and your man said £47.50. I nearly had a fucking heart attack. Now I've lost it, so that's good. And the absolute last thing that is probably quite unique to my golf bag that I'm guessing you don't have in your golf bag is a digital spirit level, which I guess I'll talk about a bit more, and I'll explain a bit more in a future video that I've got planned on Aimpoint. I'm one of the guys who has started using Aimpoint, so I use the digital spirit level to practice. But yeah, so that's everything that's in the bag / welcome back videos, fun and all that, right? Thank you very much for watching. It is massively appreciated as always. See you in the bed.